it wasn't until like 2003 that I got my first job with Marvel. And I started on a book called Human Torch, and I filled in for Scotty Young on Human Torch number 8. And then I got moved into the Marvel H storylines, which was kind of like a retelling of the old Jack Kirby, Stan Lee stories, like from like Fantastic Four, the original retellings of those, like number 12, The Impossible Man. Did a Fantastic Four with the Hulk, so that was a lot of fun. And then I moved into The Incredible Hulk, and then I got hired on over at DC, and I did a couple books with Nightwing.
Keensight, inspired by the fantasies living within all of us from our childhood. Mr. Joey Dodd, good morning. And then number 2, we got Steven, number 2.
Keensight is actually a story that my dad told us growing up as just like a bedtime story, and it spanned like probably 2 years. I remembered it the best I could, and I kind of gave like an overview of what the story was. And then our writer Holmes, who couldn't make it on today, he kind of like put it together in a comic format. There's a group of friends here. It's me and Dodd and Holmes and another guy named Anders who's the colorist, and we just said let's go for it. And so we started putting this project together. We teamed up with a print studio who's going to be printing all of our stuff, and yeah, it's been really fun. Like we already have issue 1 done. Comes in this fancy box.
Yo, look at this.
Look at that. It's raised. Yeah, it's called embossed. It's raised. And then it's got like this magnetic clip on the front, so when it closes, like that. And then we actually printed last night. So I was in the print studio, super impressive. They've got like I'm talking about Pod Tech now. They've got an entire warehouse, and they had printers running, and they're just like pumping these things out. If you can see here, that's called a perfect binding. I learned that. So there's no staples or anything.
Yeah, the education is immaculate.
Yeah. And then like this book isn't like a normal comic. It's like heavy paper. So if I just kind of like flip through it, see, the printer that they have running is like 20 feet long, and it's just like just like shooting stuff out. And then they like move it over, and they've got like this gigantic guillotine they put it in to like cut it with like these things. I mean, if you got your arm stuck in it, it would take your arm like clean off. It would definitely take off fingers. Yeah, and this whole like hydraulic press comes down, and they get it all cut, and then they bring it over to this binding machine that basically has like these rollers with glue just constantly being melted on them, and it just like zips it across. The thing can run like $400 an hour, and it comes across and like clamps it and glues it all together. But it's like, I mean, it's really cool. Our goal with this thing is when we launch, like within a couple days of our launch, you'll be able to click order. The physicals are sold separately from the NFT, by the way, and you'll be able to click order. And what happens is right here where her blade is, your PFP will be printed on the front of this. Nice. And so every single physical copy that goes out will be made to order when you click order, within like a couple days, more like Amazon than anything else. These things will be shipped out in these cool boxes and stuff directly to your door. So,
and we built this entire world off of his childhood stories. And it was really a blessing to get to work with Steven and his dad on this.
So what can you tell us about how you've kind of like designed these? Are these characters within the book? Is it just kind of like generative stuff of like characters that would fit kind of within the world? How does it go from that perspective?
I think you hit the nail on the head with that. We kind of want to keep all these styles and designs to be able to fit within the Keensight world. And a lot of the stuff that you see, like the weapons and some of the beards and mostly all the traits are going to be probably within the story itself eventually, And so I'm kind of like taking that idea of concept design as I'm going through these and thinking about our future characters in that manner. And we're really trying to kind of put together a list of things that we'd love to see within each character in the story. So yeah, it's like we're getting a 2-for-1 deal here. I used to work in a bookstore when I was 16 to like 19. And we had this small little comic section that was off to the side. And that's mainly what I spent my paycheck on, was all comic books and nerddom like that. And I would sit there for hours upon end, just sitting behind the counter. I lived in a small town, and I was like copying all the greats like Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, Rob Liefeld, all those guys that I really looked up to in the image comics industry. And I just kind of built. I taught myself as a kid. It wasn't until like 2003 that I got my first job with Marvel. And I started on a book called Human Torch, and I filled in for Scotty Young on Human Torch number 8. And then I got moved into the Marvel Age storylines, which was kind of like a retelling of the old Jack Kirby, Stan Lee stories, like from like Fantastic Four, the original retellings of those, like number 12, The Impossible Man, did a Fantastic Four with the Hulk, so that was a lot of fun. And then I moved into The Incredible Hulk, and then I got hired on over at DC, and I did a couple books with Nightwing. Then I moved over to Xenoscope, and I started out helping them build their company with Grim Fairy Tales. Me and Justin worked on the issue number 1 for Grim Fairy Tales, and it just kind of exploded into this entire universe that they created, and they're doing very well now. And then I got hired on over at Hasbro in about 2008, and I have been doing concept designs and toy creation, and just I got to work on a couple movies while I was there. I got to work on G.I. Joe, and nice. We ended up doing a small stint for a movie called for Stretch Armstrong, but they never even actually made it. And through them, I got to do a lot of cool things, and I met a lot of awesome people that kind of allowed me to expand my art into other realms, like video games. I got to work on this game called Lucky's Tale. It was for the original Oculus Rift that came out. You could probably find it on like Quest 2 and all that, but I did the interior book art for that game, which was just like when you open up the levels, there's this book that came out and all the little illustrations that went into it. I got to do those. I've done a lot of cool stuff. I've worked for Lootcrate, which allowed me to work for the sports industry, like the NFL, the NHL, and MLB.
You sound like you got a hell of a track record with everything, Steven. Like, not to, diminish anything here, but do you have even remotely close to that kind of a background, or what's going on here?
I could draw a little bit, but not like him. So, I mean, like, I do a lot. I do a lot more stuff with Holmes, our writer. And so, like, we'll get on these calls and kind of like go over the script for each one, and I'll help like rewrite it. And like through this process, I learned how to like actually do the bubbles in the comics. So like all the bubbles you see, I worked on. And yeah, but as far as like talent or history with like the artwork, like, yeah, I mean, it would be hard to touch him, like, period. And if you go down to like their resumes, I mean, all these guys have done like Marvel and all this stuff. So the team is super impressive, and it's yeah.
Holmes has a really interesting background. He was a singer for a band called Revis back in the early 2000s, and they got the tour with like Evanescence and Pearl Jam and guys like that. There, you can see him right there.
So you guys are doing this at a mint price of $50, not 500. Wow, almost slipped up there. With a quantity of 1,500, and I mean, first of all, most NFT projects we've seen have done 10,000 collections. What's the rationale behind not doing that? And then what's the rationale behind the mint price? And then I know you alluded to it earlier, Steven, but just as a reminder for anyone just tuning in, what do you get with the purchase?
Yeah. So the rationale behind it was like, what if someone buys this thing and gets the digital comic and they hate it? So for as far as the price, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, not everyone's going to love what you do. And so you like box these people in, you charge like $200 for a comic, and it's like, they're kind of like, I don't know. It just seemed like a really fair price. It seemed like a fair price for the amount of like time and work we were putting into the PFPs, the amount of time and work that we were putting into the art and the book. And it just seemed to me like a fair price where like anyone could really like jump in and experience it and like have fun kind of coming along on this journey. And it's like, it's not just this book, because like we're already started on book number 2. Like our goal is to like build out and flesh out this entire world. Like the conversations that we have about different issues and like where things are going, like our goal is to try and like as close as we can to put out like a book a month. And so you can't be like charging people an arm and a leg to be involved in your project. Like, you know, not everyone can afford like a $200 mint. And like those people might love the story more than people who can. So that's issue 2 right there. That's issue 2.
I love the way that you guys have depicted the animals. Like I know that we're all about like the animal PFPs, but this art is clean as hell.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, you're a big owl fan, aren't you?
Big owl fan. Yo, we got the tats and all.
Yeah, if you go back one, so this is kind of how it works. So this is like a storyboard drawing. So Holmes, the guy who inks and writes, he draws it out in like this blue layout form. And then when you go to the other one, that's how Dodd interprets them. So like Holmes lays out the page, and then Dodd puts his like spin on it with his illustration. Yeah, so it's really fun to kind of like watch it all come together.
Well, give us like a little bit of insight in terms of like how long this stuff takes, because there's a couple other projects out there that are doing like comics, and like Huxley, for example, they've done I think like 6, and it feels like they come out with one once a month, maybe every other month. So like, how fast is it to like create a page?
Well, I'm not sure how Huxley approaches his books, but we're kind of like a traditional comic team, you know. So the writer, he'll explain the page. He'll write it out in each panel. He'll describe what is going in each of those panels, right? And so as the writer, and Justin's a really good artist as well, so it really helps to have him lay out the page in the way he sees it in his mind. And so I'll just take that and I'll just kind of tweak it as far as like how when I set up a story, when I look at a page, I want to like make the reader's eye follow through it, you know. So it's kind of like this. It's easy to follow left to right and down, you know. So I want to set up the art to where everything can kind of go through the page and help the reader kind of hold their hand through the page, I suppose. And then after I get my pencils done, I'll go back and ink it, which is just tightening up the lines with the black, you know. And then we'll send it off to Ander, who does these amazingly beautiful and vibrant colored pages that have just really made the look of the book sing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. If you scroll down to another video, it actually like shows them drawing. You can actually see an example. There's a video.
Let me scroll.
This one right here. Yeah. So this kind of shows like from beginning to end. That's fine, yeah.
It's just like scribbles, you know. I'll you can see how I set up the page. It just kind of like walks you through it. I wish I could like put a mouse across there, but you can see how it just flows, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so this is like start to finish. Now you see it going on to the inker. And this is Holmes inking this one.
Yeah, Justin inked the entire first issue.
Yeah.
And it's a process. It can take anywhere from, oh gosh, there was a double page that we worked on. It was 21 hours for me to draw it, and then it took Justin just as long to ink it. And I don't even know how long it took Andrew to color that thing, because it was a monster page.
Should I show it?
Yeah, man.
This one.
Yeah. There's about roughly 60 hours in that page, probably.
Yeah. So how do you come up with kind of the ideas for it? Like, is everything already like pre-laid out, or is it like, hey, here's what the kind of idea for the scene is, interpret it however you want, or is it very, very specific?
It can be a bit of both, actually. That's what's great working so close knit as a team, you know. We'll just bounce ideas off each other and try to set up a better shot if we can, you know.
Yeah. I mean, in this new book, we're going to have Holmes actually lay out the pages just for timing reasons. It makes it go a little bit faster.
We're planning on putting out a book a month, so it's going to be balls to the wall, you know. Full
So,
gas.
so that's the kind of like that's the goal or the idea. Like what's the scope? I guess like is it kind of hey, if this goes well, we're wanting to make like the biggest series that we can? Are we talking like TV kind of stuff? For you like, hey, no, yeah, she'll shut the hell up. We're just focusing on the comic for right now, and then going from there. Going from there.
We're just focusing on the book right now, and hell, if it gets picked up by somebody, great. But right now, we're just kind of like wanting to tell a good story and get it out monthly that people can enjoy and not have to pay a huge exorbitant amount for, you know.
Well, when you mean picked up, can you give us like the lowdown for people that might not be in the publishing world?
Well, okay. Image Comics is a place where people can put their stories out, and you see a lot of creator-owned series out there in the Image world. Many of them, like The Walking Dead, they used to be a comic book, and then they get picked up by a film studio, and they get their story told in film form. And so that's probably one of the, I guess, end goals for us eventually, but that's far in the future. You know, right now we're just focused on the book.
Yeah.
All right, he's replying for a message right quick. I'm back. Hello. Okay. No, I mean, like the idea that publishing and creating something that's really picked up by like a bigger entity is something that I think is interesting. I love that we had Jenkins Valet on before you guys, and that was kind of one of the reasons why I asked before of like, hey, what's your advice for newer projects? Because you guys are kind of going through that motion right now in a time where it's not like, hey, you know, the is flying for 35 ETH. Anything can kind of sell. It's, hey, they want like that fast hard product. And, you know, Jenkins Valet or Valet Jones said, you know, if I was to redo things again, I'd want to have things completed. But you guys, not that you got that advice from them, but you guys have already completed what you wanted to kind of give, right? Or you will be finishing everything before the time of the mint. So where did that decision come from, and why did you do it?
Dude, I shouldn't say I hate, but I really like or dislike the Kickstarter projects, you know, where it's like, we're going to do like X, Y, and Z, just buy in now. And then like, don't worry about it. Like down the road, we're going to do it, because I've seen that like 99% of those don't work out. Yeah, so it's like, let's put in like all the hard work now, and like, let's get everything ready. And then when we launch, like they get what they pay for right away. Like it seemed like a really like a normal concept. And I think that was like the same concept into like the printing of the issues. You know, it's like, if someone buys it, we believe that they should get it like in a timely fashion. And like, you know, I don't think that should like set you apart, but in this space, it does a bit. But yeah, I mean, I just think that we wanted like a no bullshit, like this thing is affordable, it's done, like come along for the ride. And when you come with us, you know, and you click buy on the item, you get it. And like that shouldn't be like a wacky concept, but you know,
and we're building this thing out in the open too. So like we're kind of involving a lot of people in the Discord. We're doing like live drawing sessions and things like that. And they get to see like from start to finish right there, real time.
Yeah. Yeah. We actually did this cover in Discord. So like people sat in there and watched Dodd draw this thing in Procreate, which was kind of cool.
Did it take 20 hours?
Well, not the entire
thing. Do the whole thing live. It was just like a small session, but you know, I'll pop in there when I can and I have time. But yeah.
Yeah.
So Zero has got a question. How will you handle the mints with such a low number? What will the limits be? And I think he's referring to like how, like, are you restricting how many people can mint from a single wallet?
Yeah. So I think we're still kind of figuring that out, but for sure for like the initial phase where like people got whitelisted or whatever, that's going to be 1 per. And then after that, we haven't decided like public what it'll be, but we do expect that it'll be a portion of it will be a public mint. Yeah. And we kind of did that intentionally, so people could get it.
What do you guys loved about this project? What do you think people can get excited about for what you're working on? What's the timeline for things happening? Can we get it before Christmas if we're wanting to give it as a gift?
That's the goal. Like our objective is to have it out next week. We haven't like publicly said anything just in case like something happens, like someone chops off their arm in like the cutter or something. But like, you know,
everybody knock on wood.
Yeah, like, that's our intended goal. And I don't know, it'll be fun to see what happens. Like, I really hope that we attract a crowd and a community that wants to like actually read the story and not just like flip it. I think that will hopefully end up being like our core group of people who kind of go along on this.
Well, this is just like a passion project for us, you know, like getting to work with Justin and Steve on this has just been like one of the biggest blessings in my life personally. Like I really found like I found my voice with Keensight after working in the branding industry and having to draw. Like I've always had to like adhere to a certain style of design when I was working with Hasbro or Marvel, and I was having to like emulate other people, and I really found my voice with Keensight. I'd have to say, it's just been
awesome,
amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that.
And also call us out if we're ever like team needs a mental health break. Nope. Like this is like the most fun thing that I've ever done. I feel like a kid, man. Yeah. Like I mean, like I've worked some shitty jobs. Like when I was in high school, I was doing demolition. Like that, you want to break from. Like this, you do not want to break from. Like you want to do this every day when you wake up. So.
Love it. Yeah. Love it. Well, listen, lads, I don't want to take any more of your time here. It's been an absolute pleasure hearing from you, getting the goodies, and excited again. Make sure to let us know if the mint and all that kind of stuff is happening, because I'll love to share it. For anyone that's tuned in right now, if you're not following them, the link is down there in the chat. Final question. What's your favorite food and why? Joey, let's start with you.
Bro, Mexican food, hands down.
Nice. W, Steven.
Hibachi.
What? I don't even know what that is.
Like Benihana with the pink sauce and the shrimp. And they cook it in front of you with the rice, the fried rice. They flip it and they have flames coming out of the onions.
We had like this noodle miso place. Is that what we're talking about?
I'll send you a video. They have like a big table in front of you, and it's a big hot plate, and they sit there and they like spin eggs on it and do tricks with your food, and then they cut up all this Asian food in front of you and dish it up to your plate.
Yo, that sounds immaculate. That sounds immaculate.
It's fantastic. Yeah,
Wendy's also, Schiller. Wendy's.
Yo, this is what we were waiting for. Nobody said it, but that's okay. Yo, appreciate you guys. We'll chat soon.
All right, thanks.
All right, peace. Yeah, you too. Peace. Okay, yo, there it is.